So we're coming into the business end of things now. So we're coming into the month of September. This year's flown by. Coming into the month of September, and Anthony Joshua is taking on Daniel Dubois on September the 21st at Wembley Stadium. Now, a lot of people are talking about this fight, and they're talking about, like, Anthony Joshua is the favourite, and rightly so. I think that he should be favoured, and to be honest with you, I'd be surprised if he doesn't take this fight, to be honest with you, as in win. Alexander Usyk apparently is going to be ringside. He's shared the ring with both of them. Shared 24 rounds with Anthony Joshua, 9 rounds with Dubois, so he's familiar with both guys. And there's a lot of talk of what happens to the winner, what happens to the winner, what happens to the winner. Now, a lot of people believe that Anthony Joshua will win this fight, and they talk about, what he'll go on to do after, what he'll go on to do with regards to unifications, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, etc., etc., etc. But what they don't talk about is what happens to the loser of this fight. Where do they go? And I think it's only fair to do a video talking about both guys in terms of where the future is for them should they actually go and lose this fight. I guess also it depends on the nature of defeat, but let's just hypothetically say, because I really don't see this fight going to points for either guy. If Daniel Dubois wins, I think it's going to be a fairly conclusive knockout win. And if Anthony Joshua wins, I expect it will be a fairly conclusive knockout win. To be honest with you, I don't really see this. This doesn't have the look of a distance points 12 round boxing cage match or anything like that. Big cagey affair where both guys are kind of unwilling. I think that we are going to be seeing big shots from pretty damn early in this fight. So it's going to be a really, really interesting watch. Now, with Daniel Dubois, I think that he needs a separate video on this as well. But I think that there is a lot more options open to him should he lose this fight. With Anthony Joshua, should he lose this fight, then we really have a lot of questions that need to be asked. I guess it depends on the nature of the defeat. If Anthony Joshua goes in there and he's looking really, really good, he's boxing very well, he's countering, maybe even dropping Dubois, then just gets careless, walks into a big right hand from Daniel Dubois, and maybe gets taken out, or maybe gets up and is ultimately taken out again, you could say that, okay, look, he got careless, he got a bit lax in there, was unlucky, ended up getting taken out and stopped. If it's just a clear cut, Joshua maybe wins a round or two, but it's ultimately Daniel Dubois, a bit like the Hrgovic fight, having a rocky start to the fight and then just coming in and beating the hell out of him. I think either way, really, you have to ask questions about where Anthony Joshua is. Joshua is someone who said, I think it was 2026 will probably be his last year in boxing. Now, he says that now. Will it be? Hard to know. If he wins this fight and then maybe goes and fights the winner of Fury Usyk, or potentially just goes and say Usyk vacates those titles and then he decides, okay, Usyk is gone, but I fancy the challenge being undisputed, and he goes to try and pick that up. He could potentially do that. If he loses, that proposed date of 2026, that could change possibly to 2025. And to be honest with you, if Anthony Joshua loses, that is a job trying to come back from that. That's a big ass job trying to come back from that. Because it's not like, again, Daniel Dubois, where if I was to do, which I will probably do tomorrow, a video on him if he loses, there's a lot of avenues he can go down. Time is still on his side. Again, it also probably does depend on the nature of the loss, but still, you would imagine time is on his side. He can change things up, he can do things. With Joshua, time's not on his side. And you've changed your training team enough over the last 12 to 18 months. There's not a great deal left you can do in that regard. Like, you're not going to, even with Ben Davison, I don't think you're going to get any better. I think that at this point in Joshua's career, it's just about refinement, really. Refine what you're good at, maximize your strengths. Because I think in terms of improving, you stayed with McCracken too long, and I think that opportunity to really improve, get to the next level, has been missed. Obviously shows how high it could have been, because Joshua is still a very, very good fighter. In terms of the new crop of heavyweights, if he gets beaten, you would imagine that he would have to, well, then probably come back on the comeback trail. But would he be able to forego another year? Would he be able to look at 2025 and think, okay, I have to do a 2023 all over again and have a fight against opponents that are good confidence builders, but they're not really where I want to be. I'm fighting at the O2 where I want to be fighting in Saudi Arabia, or I want to be fighting at Wembley Stadium or Tottenham Hotspur. I'm having to go back and fight at the O2 to try and rebuild what's left of my career. I don't think Joshua would have the mindset or the patience to do that again should he lose. Would he then go and target a big name? Would Eddie Hearn maybe look and target the winner of Usyk Fury, or even the loser, as potentially a kind of a loser leaves town type of affair? I think if Joshua loses this, if it really would depend on, well, actually, I would say it really would depend. It probably wouldn't really depend on the outcome of the Fury Usyk fight, truth be told. I think that if Joshua loses, Eddie Hearn, all involved, Turki Al Sheikh, would probably still look to do the Tyson Fury fight. And when I say that, they probably still look to do that fight irrespective of whether he beats Alexander Usyk or not. I think that Turki Al Sheikh still seems to want to, or at least he still, from the way he talks, has a semblance of an interest in still seeing Wilder Joshua, in spite of the fact that Wilder looks, completely done, a shell of himself. But the way he talks about Wilder, the way he talks about wanting to give him one last roll of the dice, for me, that's Turki Al Sheikh hoping maybe Wilder shows something. So if he can't get Fury, he can get Wilder Joshua. I think that if Fury loses and Joshua loses, Turki Al Sheikh will still look to match them, because the British public, irrespective of both guys, whether they're both coming off defeats or not, they would still, it wouldn't have the same intrigue as it would have if it was Joshua IBF champion and Fury unified champion meeting next year. It would be an absolute cash bonanza. It really truly would. It would be a cash bonanza. It would sell out anywhere. They'd have to do it at Wembley Stadium. They'd have to, for the British fans. They could probably charge, and believe you me, I'm seeing a lot of people complain on Twitter about the price of Oasis tickets for, here and God knows where. They could probably go even higher on those, and fans would still buy it. So they could charge it. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not endorsing that, saying, yeah, do it. No, obviously not. But they probably could do it and get away with it. Pay-per-view, everything. People would be, it would, honestly, in the UK, maybe not in America, it would probably be big in America, but not crazy big. That wouldn't be, this would be, in a way of thinking about it, this would be our Tyson Holyfield. Tyson Holyfield did great numbers on pay-per-view in the States way back in 1996. Great numbers. I remember, well, obviously I'm watching boxing now, but if you look at the posters, like, finally Tyson Holyfield, I think it did over 1 million buys. It was a big event. It was a big deal in America. Even though you had Mike Tyson, who came out of prison, and Evander Holyfield, who a lot of people were thinking was over the hill at this point, people still were very interested in it, and likewise the rematch. I think this would be the British Tyson Holyfield, if you know what I mean. Like, I think that it would have that intrigue. And to be fair, Holyfield Tyson in Britain, people cared about that fight in Britain as well. It's not like they didn't, but in America that was it. And I think it will be the same over here with Fury Joshua, irrespective of whether both guys are coming on the back of the feet. I think that the British fans will want to watch it. I think that the Saudis will see money. I think the promoters, Frank and Eddie, will see money. And I think that if Joshua loses, and again, irrespective of how he loses, I think that they will still look to do that fight. I think that that is the ultimate end goal for Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, is for those two to have a fight regardless of the result of their respective fights. If that fight doesn't happen, and Joshua loses, it's a long road back. And it could be too long a road for Joshua to go down at this point in his career. If he was 28 and was in this position and he lost to Daniel Dubois in devastating fashion, I'd say, okay, do you know what? You probably still got another 5-6 years left. Take a year, take 2 to rebuild and see what happens. You have the money. It's not like, you're paying for a family and, you need to make a lot of money because you've got a lot of mouths to feed. Joshua could be feeding mouths for generation after generation if he was that age in this position. At 34 going on 35, I think he is. Maybe there or thereabouts. It's not a lot of time left. The clock is ticking. So if Joshua loses to Dubois, Honestly, I think that date of 2026 as a retirement date may get pushed forward to next year. Could see him be one and done, have one more fight, and that's it. It's done. Could potentially happen. That's assuming he loses, which I don't think he will. Let's talk in a separate video about Daniel Dubois and what would happen to him if he lost. I'll do that in a separate video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Smash the like button if you could, and subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. And for now, lads and lassies, I shall leave it there. Peace.